7 frugal habits to never give up. This is the focus group.
They're all business, except when they're not. It's the focus group with Tim Bennett and John Nash.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the focus group. Tim Bennett here, as always, with my good friend and co-host, Mr. John T. Nash. Learn all about us at focusgroupradio.com. You'll also find a link there to our podcast, which is TFG Unbuttoned, which is released each Tuesday, as well as our sponsors. Be sure to click on the deep discount logo over there and start shopping away. Mr. Nash, how are you now that we are into what is the unofficial or official start of summer since Memorial Day has happened?
It's the calendar start of summer, but or the official start, but calendar summer is like sometime in June, right? Like the equinox.
So we're still spring.
Yeah. Doing good. We had a good holiday weekend. It's a good first week. I'm going to share with listeners because maybe someone's going to send us an idea of how to deal with this. I shared with Tim a while ago the bonanza of what I call the Star Wars trading cards. You know the story, Tim?
Yeah. I'm excited about this.
I came across an article about some of the 10 most expensive Star Wars trading cards ever. And they're tops. And if you're of a certain age, you might have gone to the drugstore to buy baseball cards or hockey cards. In my case, I went and got Star Wars 1977. They came, tops did it with wax paper, and there's a little stick of gum.
Did you chew the gum?
We threw it away often because the gum was so stiff. Even as a kid, you knew it could just crack your teeth.
You bite it in and it crackled.
It's like bazookas sometimes. You could crack your teeth, right? So I'm reading this article, and Luke Skywalker sticker goes for $68,000 or something. The first card in the blue series, and of course, I didn't really understand what this was all about. But I showed the article to Bob, and I said, "Bob, I have these cards. I know I have them. They're in a box." I said, "I've had them since I was a kid." I eventually find them, and they were exactly as I left them. And this is the part that Tim and Bob are both very amused by. So my idea of fun was my friend down the street, Ricky, and I would go to the local drugstore when we were kids. 1977, Star Wars first came out. We would buy a whole box of these Topps trading cards, the case, right? We'd get home, we'd sit, and we would rip open the stuff, throw the gum on into a pile, throw it away, basically, the wrappers in another, and then we would sort the cards, and we'd make sets. And we guaranteed that each of us had 2 complete sets of the first Topps series, which had blue borders on them, including stickers.
Now, how did they know? How did they know that? So, did you know that there were 13 cards to a set, or how many were in a set?
There was one of the cards always had a guide on the back of it that had the name, and like each card had like C-3PO or Droids on the Run or the Dark Lord Vader. Like it would have a title and the number, and so you knew how many, including the stickers. So we got these. We ended up getting. Each of us had 2 of the first set complete, and then there was a blue, a yellow, a red, and a green that came out afterwards, and we got complete sets of those. And after we made the complete sets, Ricky said we should wrap them and preserve them. This is what you did for fun, right? So his dad.
How old were you? 12 years old or something?
13 or 14.
Now, how much did a pack cost? Do you remember?
Oh, they were like 15 cents. I mean, we're talking, buying the case was easy. I mean, we would just pool our resources. And our parents were like, "What do you guys do?" And we're like, "We're collecting Star Wars trading cards." Okay, at least you're not doing something bad.
Yeah.
So we went to his dad's shop. He had this plastic stuff that you could wrap something in and give it a little heat, and it would sort of shrink wrap and preserve it. And so I have 4 complete sets plus a duplicate of the first one, so 5 complete sets of Star Wars cards.
You're a millionaire.
Sealed. And I put them in a box, and I have literally forgotten about them for 40-some years. They've moved with me, though, from college to apartments, because they're not that big, Well, I find this article, I find the cards, and now I'm thinking I am a Star Wars card millionaire. Okay, this is where we got, because they're literally from the wrapper to the preservation system. Come to find out that there's a whole world of trading card stuff, and you have to send them in to be evaluated, and they get a PSA rating, and they could be a gem or a mint or an 8 or a 9 or a 10.
Certify them or something?
And they put them in plastic sleeves, they microcode them, and then you can, I guess if you have a card that's valuable, go to auction. So I'm wondering what to do with them. So, hey, you're hearing this, you say to yourself, I know what John should do with those Star Wars trading cards. Letters at focusgroupradio.com. Because Bob thinks that they're worth, he goes, honey, you're not, I don't, someone asked me, an appraiser said, are you a motivated seller? I said, I don't. I said, this is, when I was a kid, the fun was collecting the set and then putting it away. I'm not going to need
So if
the
somebody
cards.
offered you $10,000 for them, would you take it?
That's the thing. You know what? Maybe, because to someone buying them, they're going to have to like figure out what the ones are. The value is so hard to determine because it's out of our control. It's how it was printed, how it was cut and cropped. If the color was okay, like, and that could be because they printed back in the they did a number of these. How sharp are they? And that's again all the printing stuff. So you could luck out. You could have a complete set, but
It's all arbitrary, right?
Yes.
So
that's
but if you conservatively add it up to say, okay, I have a sticker sold between 5,000 and 60,000, and I've got
or $100. I mean, sometimes they go
so,
for
but have you done a conservative estimate? What you think it could be worth?
No, you got a good point there, and that I think what I need to do is confirm that each was a complete set. And which I did earlier.
I'm
but
sure
I'll do
they
it
did.
again.
I'm sure they are.
Well,
just knowing you, how
we
anal
were
you
nerds
are.
Nerds as kids.
You wouldn't have wrapped them if they weren't complete. They wouldn't have been wrapped.
Been wrapped. You are right about that. So,
yeah.
And then I think it come and so I ran in on a bike ride recently. I ran into a woman who was walking her dog. Turns out she was an art assessor and she knew about the card market. And she basically said, you want someone to, what you just suggested, you want someone to buy them and let them take care of the ranking of the cards and do they get auctioned, the whole bit. But Tim and I have regardless of how this works out, we've had a great laugh over the fact that these cardboard cards that, used to get, of all things that you save, right? And remember, think of all the toys we've had. Think of the things you've had along the way. Like Tim loves to talk about, and one of my favorite stories is he had a Batmobile, like one of these like pedal car things. And you're like, Mom, where's the pedal? No, honey, that's gone.
No, my mother was looking for it in the attic because my uncle had given to us. It was one of those ones from the 60s that you could ride on. And one had gone to auction when the Batman movie came out for like $20-some thousand. So she's in the attic rooting around looking for that. That was long gone. That thing had been so beat up. I mean, I think we tried to saw the fin off at one time. I mean, it was...
You played with it.
We used to put the scarecrow on it and shoot it onto the street and make cars slam on their brakes. When you think about it now, it's horrible.
You call it ghost driving, right?
Yeah. Here comes a car. Let it go. Zing. Boom.
Yeah, so Star Wars trading cards. And then in a weird kind of crossover of fate, I've been working on a project, and I had to find pictures of Tim and I when we were younger, our high school days. And when you go down that rabbit hole, I don't know if you've had this experience, Tim. I think you were talking earlier with me about how one of our classmates put up a bunch of pictures of you. I look at the two of us, and I'm like, do I know those people? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
a lot of hair. We had a lot of hair.
Oh.
I had that Danny party. We both had full mops of hair.
Well, you could have done anything with your hair. You still have hair. I mean, you had your center parted, right? And then
that was very Danny, very Keith Partridge looking. Yeah. But back to these Star Wars cards. I'm excited about this. I'm excited for you because I think it's great. But I think you need to take this out to its likely end. You need to find whether that woman you met in the park or whether
someone
Manhattan
right
Manhattan must have resources where if there's any city in the country that has somebody that knows what to do with these things, there's got to be somebody in Manhattan that has some information.
Well,
I know I went to school with a guy that deals with sports cards. I should send him a note. And he's very heavily involved in trading and these things with the sports athletic cards, but maybe he would know about Star Wars.
Well, but that's the same world. And yes, it would be helpful because apparently they all understand how this works with how they're graded.
I'll shoot him a note and give him your name, and maybe you guys can hook up and just give you some advice. But he's very heavily involved with, trying to authenticate a Babe Ruth card, for instance, or Hank Aaron or something like that.
Yeah, some of the originals that go back almost 100 years. Bob had an interesting idea. He suggested that I take, since I have 2 complete sets of the first original set, the blue border one, he suggested that I take those, sort through them, and put together one complete set out of those 2 that are like of each card, like each pair, pick the best one, and then try to put a mint set together. But
can you see the difference? Can you see the difference in them?
Yeah, subtle.
Even though they've not been touched in 40 years and been wrapped, you can
it's
still
the printing. It's like they have a rule about how the card is centered. If it was a bad press day or a good press, if the ink is heavy or if the ink is light, it's literally down to that. Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. I think it's an exciting thing, and stay tuned. Maybe John, you could walk away with $3-4 million and
I had that dream, but I'm thinking I'm scaling back to maybe like something that pays for a bicycle, right?
Listen, something's got to hit. I told you I was keeping a list of all the things we missed. Gotta find it.
Star Wars cards was not on your list until
not on my list, but this is your list. Yeah, so I think it's a good thing. But so without further ado, though, Mr. Nash, what caught your eye this week?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
Okay, I've got a funny one that I think will appeal to you because you've seen a lot of this before. But it's about a woman who makes fake food in Scotland. And I know that on your trips to Japan, you've seen a lot of really well done fake food, right? So this woman in Scotland has shot to fame. Her name is, Carrie Samantha Boyes. And some of her raspberry ripple ice cream cones were used in the opening beach scene of Barbie. And that one thing alone shot her up the thing. So she makes high-quality realistic sculptures of food for a range of uses. Interestingly, from historic houses where they'll like set up a kitchen and they'll have the fake food, you know what I mean, and museums to films and TV shows. Since launching her Fake Food Workshop, that's the name of her business, 6 years ago as a kitchen table startup, it's grown leaps and bounds. She views it as she views it as art, and she grew up watching her dad do a lot of different things, and she said her inspiration comes from her dad. A lot of time with him while he was working. He was a joiner, but was quite creative. So I think when we look at Scotland and England, when we say a joiner, I'm going to say carpenter, that's probably the closest analog. So she observed him being really creative in how he would solve these little problems and stuff. She works, she has a background as a stonemason and a taxidermist. So taxidermist to me is interesting, right?
Sounds like a lot of fun at parties.
Yeah, exactly. Like, boy, you can't wait to show you that stuffed raccoon I just finished. With replication being her forte. And that was an interesting little thing there, too, where she could make something and then repeat it. So she's based out of Scotland, as I said, and the material she works with most is painted resin. And right now she's in the process of setting up a workshop, which looks like a store. And it's going to be part of an art fair as well. So you walk into this place, and if you saw the pictures, or if you see it online, it looks like a bakery. Like there's croissants, there's like those French things with the cream horns, they call them, cookies, cakes, and everything. And it's all just fake food. But I just think it's hysterical that this is a whole thing, right?
Yeah, you don't think about it. Somebody had to make these, right? You mentioned Japan. They're great lengths in the restaurants to, in the windows, show or display the food so you could point to something you'd want. And I always wondered why they just didn't use real food. Some restaurants down here at the beach, they'll cook something or make it and put it out. But yeah, I guess it goes bad or it doesn't look that appealing after it starts to cool down. But I was wondering what they made this out of. I was wondering if it was plastic or is it...
Yeah, resin. Yeah.
So it is a resin, but it's got to be difficult to do.
Yes.
Right? Because you're going to have to... You not only you have to be a sculptor, right? You have to be able to also replicate what it looks like. But in terms of getting the color correct, and I bet there's... In order to get the right thing, it's got to be lots of trial and error.
Well, it says here that alongside featuring in the Barbie blockbuster, her creations have featured at the Hobbiton Hobbit Museum in New Zealand, where Lord of the Rings was filmed, and New York's Guggenheim, which I think is really cool. She's also had stuff displayed at Selfridges, at several West End theaters, and a number of National Trust properties. So she's out there. But you're right, Tim. The art is in, like, okay, so it's one thing to take a cake pan and make a resin cake because you got the pan, but an ice cream cone, you have to create the mold. You have to get the mold for the cone, right? And then you have to figure out how to make it look like one of those sugar cones, right? And then you have to get it's
you have to be a sculptor.
I just remember when I saw this, the first thing I thought of was you, because you were very impressed by some of the fake sushi you saw over in Japan.
Oh, it was unbelievable how right down to, you're right. It really was remarkable. And you can see
Did you buy any of it? And you commented once that you thought you should have some.
I was going to, then for a while you could go in and buy it. And the little pieces of sushi with a magnet on the back, and it could be
put on their fridge. Okay.
Put on your fridge or something. But I never did that. I went crazy and bought the
clocks,
the Japanese alarm clocks, which I still have somewhere. Which I don't know how long those are going to last. What
do you mean? They're hilarious. They all talk and
yeah, but I don't know what they're saying. All I know is that when my Japanese friends would translate, they would just shake their heads about how poorly. Grammatically incorrect they were, because probably Koreans and Chinese were voicing the Japanese. But I do have to fire those up again. So
you got.
There's a couple that got damaged. But
you got to record them when they do their thing. That's the best part. If you could record it, at least you'll have that.
At least I'll have it. So, well, that's interesting. Mine can't be any more different of a story.
Although I do like yours just from the picture alone.
Oof, I knew you would. So, did you ever hear of something called the Streisand effect?
No.
So, part of this story deals with the Streisand effect, meaning there was as a sidebar to this before I tell the story, there was a story about Barbara Streisand in 2003 was pissed off at Google Earth, whatever, because they were mapping celebrities' houses. And so she didn't like the fact that you can go to Google Earth and you could zoom in on her house or look at her house, which a lot of people complain about. Nobody would have known that if she not made a big deal about it. So when she made a big deal about it, all of a sudden it was hundreds of thousands of people looking. So this is the same case. It says it's about the Streisand effect and how it came to haunt Australia's richest woman, Gina Reinhardt. And so she is, as I mentioned, she's Australia's richest woman, and she has contacted the National Gallery, and she's pissed off is the best word I can use, that they had an Aboriginal artist put together famous Australians. And so he did Queen Elizabeth, and he did some sports stars and cricket players, rugby players, so forth. And then this woman here, Gina Reinhardt, who's the wealthiest woman in Australia, comes from a family of miners, mining family, mineral exploration. Mm-hmm. And she thought the picture was horribly unflattering of her, which it is. if you're watching on our video, I mean, it's a horrible picture that I posted. John has it up there, of her actual picture and the picture that the artist had done. And so she contacted the gallery and demanded that they take the picture down. And of course they said no. And they said that it's only an exhibition, is only going to be up for probably 30 days or so.
Of course they said no.
They said no.
And folks, you got to tune into the YouTube thing to see this portrait, this painting. Tim, do you love it?
Oh, I loved it. And the one of Queen Elizabeth is hilarious, too. They've got one of Queen Elizabeth, and she's got a crown on, and her face is all contorted, and she looks like she's yelling at somebody, like reprimanding them. But that's the deal with this artist. So this artist, he's an Aboriginal artist from Australia, and he's known for doing these kind of fun caricatures of people. And so they contacted him and asked him what he thought about, the uproar about this woman. And he just simply said, I paint what I see. He said, which is even, right, it's even another kind of middle finger. But there is a little history to it, so I'll tell you why she's even probably more tuned up, and he did what he did. They said that, but thanks to Reinhardt's demand, it's hit all the presses. They said it's even been on the Late Show in America, and Stephen Colbert, and he showed the picture. And so they said,
now.
That's right. They said the Streisand effect has essentially put all kinds of attention on this artist's exhibition. they've had threefold increase in terms of people coming to
The gallery.
coming to see the gallery, plus also coming to online to look at the pictures. And of course, we're talking about it here in the focus group. So people were complaining, and then they insisted that maybe the artist was being funded by the Chinese Communist Party because they're mad that Australia's getting nuclear subs. So then they said that it was reported that Reinhardt's father, Lang Hancock, in the 80s, infamously suggested in 1984 that indigenous Australians should be sterilized to breed themselves out of existence. So this Aboriginal artist decided this is his getting back. So when you think about it, it's like, kind of, I won't get you today, I won't get you tomorrow, but I'll get you.
I'm going to get you.
We know that. So it turns out that, but even though this one's worth, I think it's over $30 billion. Yeah, 30 billion, 30.6 billion US. It's mineral exploration and extractions, wealthiest Australian. So they said that, let's see what else was going on. Oh, it said her views were that she doesn't understand why, this is Reinhardt again, why he would make such a horrible picture. And if he was jealous, and if people are jealous of her for making so much money and they want to be rich, they should do something more. They should spend less time drinking or smoking or socializing and get out and work. So she was reprimanding the people for saying that she had made money. Sounded a little bit like Leona Helmsley, right?
It sounds like Charles Dickens. Are there no poorhouses? Are there workhouses? I mean, lift yourself up. I mean, my God. Wow.
So the final kind of say here was from the artist. He says on the critique, I paint what I see. I paint the world as I see it. Namajira is his name. He said, I paint people who are wealthy, powerful, or significant, people who have had an influence on our country and on me personally, whether directly or indirectly, whether good or whether for bad. The gallery's open through July 21st, 2024.
All right, so who owns the painting?
Well, the artist in the museum. And so she says she's not going to give the money anymore. She's not going to give any money to the museum. And the Australians are going nuts and saying, wait a minute, this is censorship. And they show, I didn't show it here in the video, but there's 20, this is one in a series. So there's 20 of them of famous Australians, former prime ministers. And
has anybody else
royalty.
Complained?
No, because everyone knows what it's, right? It's just, he's an artist that does this sort of thing. But this one was particularly bad. The Queen is really quite bad as well. I mean, I when I saw the picture of Queen Elizabeth, I busted up laughing because it looks like she's reprimanding, like she's got the stern look on her, like the finger out, which is so unlike how you would see Queen Elizabeth.
No.
So, but they're sports stars and everybody else. Most people are taking it in fun and know that this is his style, but this was her. She was all tuned up.
It's a caricature.
Yeah. It is bad though, isn't it?
Well,
it's horrible.
When you sent it over, I'm just mesmerized by the way he's done the eyes. They're not quite crazy eyes. And the way he's got a double chin in there in his own little way.
Like three chins. And it's like she's nervous. Like the mouth is like.
Yeah, it's exactly right. You got
huge,
the curve of the lower lip.
Forehead, like she's balding.
And it's bulging out like she's the elephant woman or something. I mean, we're probably doing it injustice if you are just listening to the audio and you can't see it. But
we'll post it to social media. We'll post it to our Facebook page.
When I saw it, I thought it was done before you didn't send the story. So I hear this and I thought, I wonder if the gallery was showing children's interpretations of adults and like. Because it's there, like all the proportions are right. I mean, when you see them side by side, you're like, even the same lipstick color, right? I mean, that's another one.
It reminds me. Remember, I got that piece of art, the one that was transgender and Hillary Clinton
on the street
in West
Hollywood. Yes.
It reminds me of that sort of thing where you could go crazy over it or just laugh at it.
And it's just so simple, right? Yeah. It's not like a fine oil. It's definitely
it was a caricature. So anyway, I thought it was funny. Yeah. So
nicely done, by the way.
So moving right along, we've got it's a small one today, but it's our business birthday, Mr. Nash.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
John Balsley, Balsley, John Balsley. I think that's how you would say it.
Balsley, yep.
Balsley. He was born May 29th, 1823. He died at 71 in 1895, was a master carpenter and inventor. He invented the practical folding wooden stepladder, and he received the first patent for the safety stepladder a year later. So he patented the folding, so there were stepladders, so he patented a folding stepladder, which I guess you didn't think about. We all think of them as folding. And then he also patented a safety stepladder, which I'll tell you what that is. He was born in Connellsville, Fayette County, Pennsylvania. His father was also a carpenter. They said, as an odd coincidence, in the borough of Connellsville in 1825, his uncle was on the town council, and they had a title in the borough for jobs called Keeper of the Ladders. And although none of his family, none of the Balsley family were keeper of the ladder, they're wondering if this is where the interest in ladders came from the town in Connellsville, Pennsylvania. So he, although the stepladder had been in use for many years, in 1862, his primary contribution was the replacement of the rungs to flat steps. So ladders were all made with the round rungs.
Oh,
so the round
can you
spools.
imagine, Tim? Like, I'm so used to the flat step of a step ladder.
So
never even thought that had to be invented, right?
Yeah, thanks to John. Well, again, how tough was this? So John Balsley came up
step.
with the Balsley step. Could be a dance. So he came up with that, and as well as the folding mechanism, and he also patented an adjustable table leg in 1875. So
the minute you said that, I just imagined a pirate somewhere being able to adjust their peg leg. Arr, I need an inch longer.
Well,
Stupid, sorry.
I was trying to think. No, I was trying to think of adjustable table legs, I guess.
Oh, how useful that would be. I mean, imagine. Yes, for some chairs. Yeah, I could see it.
So he became very wealthy, they said, because of these three inventions. He ended up leaving Pennsylvania, went to Ohio, and then moved to Oregon. And so he ends up dying there at 71. He and his wife are there. They're actually buried in Dayton, Ohio. I'm sorry. And so that was it. He was awarded as I said, this 3 patents, 2 for ladders and 1 for the table. And so he made money on one of the few, because a lot of times you read about these where people didn't make any money.
But I love this stuff, the daily stuff we don't think of, right? A folding ladder, step ladder. Like I just assume they've always existed in a certain form, right?
I did too. I made a slight mistake. I said Oregon. He didn't move to Oregon. He moved to Ohio.
Ohio, okay.
And there was a place called the Oregon District in Ohio, which I was unaware of, but it's in the Dayton area. So,
and which is where he and his wife were buried, right?
Yep. Yeah, after they left Pennsylvania. So
I like it. I think it's a great business birthday, and it would be like the guy that invented the torque wrench, or someone who invented a certain thing, like, or Velcro.
Mousetrap.
Yeah, exactly.
So happy birthday to Mr. John Balsley. Thank him for the ladder
Mr.
without
Balsley.
having to stand on the rungs, which would hurt your feet.
Yeah, think about that, right? And it's dangerous. Slip off.
So moving right along to our shop talk here, Mr. Nash. This comes from CNBC. There was a story from a woman that's 39 years old. She's a self-made millionaire, and she came up with 7 frugal habits that she says she would never give up, no matter how much money she makes or how much money she has. And she was a first-generation Filipina American, and she used to watch her parents try to struggle and save money and be frugal in terms of living the American dream, and found herself in debt $300,000 in 2016, and got very anxious about it, so decided she was going to get out of debt, which she did in 3 years. That's the story I want to hear about, how she got out of debt in 3
thank you.
years.
Yes.
And she didn't do it by buying chicken thighs and saving bags.
No.
But
Which is in the article.
Which is in the article. But anyway, so what she says here is, so she has a business called Crush Your Money Goals. and sounds like she's a coaching business life coach. And so we want to see if you agree with these 7 frugal habits, and that she says no matter how much money she ever makes, she's still going to abide by or adhere to these 7 frugal habits. So do you want to start off with number 1, Mr. Nash?
Yeah, the first one is called I buy the least expensive cuts of meat. And she said, yes, I'm looking for the cheapest pack of chicken thighs to save an extra 23 cents. So she gave an example that she loves Korean barbecue. Beef short ribs can be expensive. And instead, she'll buy the end cuts that are $7.99 per pound as opposed to $11.99. They aren't pretty. They have fewer bones, but they're easier to prepare. They're delicious and ultimately better for her budget. So I'm not going to disagree with this, except to say some cuts of meat are better for longer cooking times in which
Right.
it might not even matter how much you spent. Others, though, if you're having a dinner party, oh, where'd you get this meat?
Well, they always say that if you bought a chicken and cut it up yourself, so cut the breasts or cut the thighs, it'd be less money than buying just chicken breasts.
Processed,
Or buying.
yeah.
But
I'm sorry to do that. I went one day I was in the grocery store and I saw this pack of these enormous chicken breasts. It was like $4.95, and I was holding in my left hand a tray of chicken tenders for $13.99, and I'm like, okay, and they're almost the same weight, right? One was
Right.
like 2 pound, yeah. And I thought, why don't I just cook the chicken breast and cut it up? I'm going to do it anyway, right? And
Yeah.
voila, I just saved, like $9, right?
Yeah, no, so there you go. So I was going to say I do these things as well. I do shop pricing on meat and but I shop price on everything.
Yeah.
I always have, because you and I
Money,
pay to go
food,
to school.
it doesn't grow on trees. None of it.
No.
Money or food, right? Well,
No, but I like to report right now, Richard does not any of that. But anyway, the number 2, she says, I saved my hotel room vanity kits. And you and I have talked about this before. So she says she's always excited when she goes to a hotel in all her travels, because she travels quite often of the vanity kits that would be in the hotel, meaning if they provide a toothbrush or a razor or soap,
Shower caps,
all that sort of thing, that she saves that stuff and uses it for either cleaning or just uses it for other uses at home. Which I always used to take the soap and the lotions and use them either at the gym, or I'd leave them at the boathouse, or I just wouldn't have to buy soap at home. Now, I had a coworker, I think I told you, he used to take the toilet paper.
mm-hmm.
I never understood that. Did you ever take toilet paper from a hotel room?
No, Nate, made no sense. I'm smiling because I'm remembering we were Oklahoma City on our cross-country road trip in the VW Beetle. I think we finished breakfast. We were getting ready to check out and hit the road, and you're like, did you pack... It was, I forget what brand.
Bulgari, Bulgar. It's the most expensive amenity I've ever had in a hotel room. When I was in
End
some
of
nice
story.
hotels. Yeah.
So Tim goes, you make sure those are in your suitcase.
Oh my God, it was fantastic.
Tim's on this one already. He's way ahead.
Yeah. What was number
All right,
3?
the next one, I think a lot of us do it already, depending on what kind of stuff you get. But it says, I repurpose my takeout food containers. So she said, did your parents also keep leftovers in old margarine and Cool Whip containers? The takeout containers I get from restaurants nowadays are so much fancier. I agree with her.
Yep.
Than those old country crock tubs. We do, in fact, save sometimes the rectangular ones. They're very useful for small things. Sometimes we use them for food. Or, we've done things where, like, if we have extra food and we have a neighbor that, we're giving something to, they can,
Right.
and then we'll just say, keep the container, so this one is less about making you a millionaire and more about just common sense, in my opinion. Do you agree?
No, I do agree. And it also is environmentally friendly. I
Yes.
think it's a shame sometimes if you do Chinese takeout or something and you get these pretty darn nice containers.
Mm-hmm.
And why just recycle them or throw them away? I'm with you. Use them for, if you have batteries or nuts and bolts or something. Or, as you said, if you're going to make food for a neighbor and just put it in there and give it to them. So it's, no, I agree with you on that one. The number 4, she said, I use every drop of my favorite beauty product. It may sound too frugal to some, but a lot of it stems from having grown up with eczema, which is a skin condition, she said, which required me to spend tens of thousands of dollars on medications and specialized lotions. So she says, I'm embarrassed to say that I'll also squeeze the very last bit out of a toothpaste tube. I'm not embarrassed by this at all.
No, I agree.
I have had face lotion, which is expensive. And when I come down to when I know there's something left in there, but it won't squeeze out, I'll cut it open and dig my finger in it, and I'll get, another 1 or 2 days out of it. And also, I think we talked about this. If you buy box wine and you're done with the little nozzle that you press, the spout, open up the box and take out the bladder and squeeze it. You're going to get another 2 glasses of wine out of it.
Yeah. Oh, certainly. I that's a perfect.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe we should be millionaires, John. So
Well,
far, you and I agree with all this, right?
I do it too. Like if I'm running out of like something and I have a new one, I'll turn the old bottle over and like balance them for like the day, so the old
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
Why would I waste it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
All right. The next one here is I look at the menu prices before I choose my order. This seems to me a really simple thing. She said, I've noticed that many restaurants strategically place higher price items at the beginning of the menu to catch your attention. So what I do is start at the end by reading in reverse. I'll usually spot the more affordable options first. You can still enjoy a premium meal without the attendant price tag. Yeah, I guess, right?
I always look at the price of something. If I really wanted it, I would get it. But generally, I will look at the price. And if something I think is just outrageous, for instance, filet down here at a lot of the restaurants, I like filet.
26? How much are you paying down there?
Oh, no. 50, 52. It should be 26, but it's not. But we're in a resort area, but it's. I just refuse to buy it. I won't buy it because it's too much money. So I do look at prices on the menu. Again, as I said, as Betty Davis would say, I'd like to report right now that Richard does not look at prices. I do it at the grocery store. Don't you look at
you bet.
Does Bob look at prices?
Kind of.
Or just throw it in the cart?
I'll look at the weight and the price, and if there's a comparable store brand the same weight, but it's saving me $1.25, I'll buy the store brand. Because it's probably made by the same company, just different packaging. But anyway.
Right. Yeah. Hannaford's isn't making Pop-Tarts.
No. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. This one I laughed at. I preserve high-quality shopping bags.
Mm-hmm.
So she's talking about even the flimsy plastic ones, which you could use for garbage or scrap foods or whatever. I used to use them as doggy bags for picking up after the dog. And then saving nice bags, which you can do if you're going to somebody's house or somebody comes by and you give them something to take home, you put it in one of the bags. When I moved, I had over 100 of these quality, see, here you go, of high quality shopping bags. Brian, our friend Brian from AdMark 360, went crazy. He threw them all away. I was so angry because I had gone, I don't know if you remember how great the bags were from Apple. They were almost like a backpack. I had Apple bags, I had Hermes bags, I had Tiffany bags. I had all these great bags from over the years that he goes, you're never going to use them. But I guess I would have, but I can't now. Got thrown away. I was so mad he threw them away. He still picks on me about it and talks about how I was hoarding bags, he said. But I love a good shopping bag.
Tim, I think you have PTSD from the move from Glenside.
I do. There's so many things I lose.
A lot of memories go back to, I didn't make the move. I didn't get the brownie pan. This didn't come down.
No, I don't have a brownie pan.
It's like, and now the bag problem. It's
the bags.
Wow.
When there's this triggering, John. This was triggering.
This article's triggering.
Saw the shopping
I agree
bag.
on the bag front, and it's a shame you don't have some of those. I mean, I guess it could have been the case when you said 100, like something like that.
At least Brian said you had two. He said he had 2 contractor bags filled with shopping bags.
Okay,
now I didn't realize I had that many, but I did save a good bag. I did save a good bag. I didn't use them enough. I don't know what I thought I was going to do with them. I probably forgot they were there. They're in the basement for.
Honestly, I've gotten bags from stores sometimes that were such high quality.
Yes.
That I'm like, I know I'm paying for this.
Yes, look at those Dalwhinnie bags that were done for the pot people.
Yeah,
those were outrageous.
The cardboard, the liner.
Yes.
Yeah, an Apple, Apple and packaging. All right, and the last one here she has is I wear free T-shirts to the gym. Thanks to the rise of the athleisure industry, sometimes going to the gym feels more like a fashion show, and I agree with her. Since I go to several conferences and events a year that offer swag, I will gladly wear those free T-shirts to my yoga dance classes instead of spending money on designer workout clothes. I've also lost way too many water bottles to feel good about buying expensive ones. Okay, I have two things to say about this. The first is I used to wear T-shirts that were graphic or they came from a bike race or something to the
Right.
gym, and I used to wear them to yoga. And I noticed after a while that no one in the classes that I ever take has branded clothing. Everything's plain. It's just there's no logo, like there's no like big like the big conference, San Francisco.
So it's just
like
a plain blue T-shirt or something. Just-
at one time, I had a yoga instructor laughingly say that she found the graphic tees to be a touch distracting. But
Really?
besides which, the T-shirts
That's
you get
funny.
at conferences may not look good on you. Like I want to look at least presentable in shirts and whatever. And the second one about the free water bottles, I do buy water bottles for my bike that are made a certain way to withstand the heat, not break down. So the free plastic ones you get are great, but there are reasons why you might want to be using them. I'm just saying that from
yeah, I don't think
plastic.
she's on a bike.
No. No. And I don't think she's taking the same classes I'm taking, but whatever.
But apparently, if you do these 7 things, your chicken thighs and bags, you'll be a millionaire by the time you're 39.
Well, no, she said these are the habits that she'll never get rid of, even though she's
Oh, okay.
yeah, these are the ones that are ingrained from the get-go, and she has no reason to abandon these habits. And the other side of the coin is she, as Tim said at the start of this whole thing, she did have all this debt. Some of it was mortgage, which I don't look at the same way as credit card debt, whatever.
Right.
But she did wipe it all out, and she's now debt-free, which is cool.
Yeah, no, her name is it's Bernadette Joy, and I really am interested about how she must have had a
Wiped
heck of a
out the debt.
job. How you can wipe out $300,000 in debt in 3 years? It's and she's 39. She says she's a millionaire at 39. So she probably works in Palo Alto and invested in Facebook or something.
or she invented your face.
Right.
No, I think if you were making a certain salary and you were as frugal as she is, and she says earlier in the article there is things she just doesn't spend money on. She
Right.
And I think we all know people who don't. Like I have friends who will go out every year and buy brand new shirts and this, and I'm the opposite. I'm like, well, there's 3 for $99. You know my story. If I get 3 for $99, I got to get rid of 3. It's just one of those things, right? And it's I don't question how people spend it, but I do question how they save it, especially if you get, Tim and I have friends who are approaching retirement, and I'm dubious as to how some of them are actually going to pull it off, given what they've saved, right? I mean, it's just...
Yeah, no, it's daunting, and but thankfully I listened, and as you did, I listened early on. I try to give the same advice to my nieces and their younger friends, but they say it's
you and
harder to
I
save
think
now.
I don't know how you and I we were very lucky with our mentor figures who gave us advice on dollar cost averaging or the importance of putting stuff away in your 20s when you're not even thinking about that.
Right.
You're not even thinking about your older years. But all that investing, and if your company had a 401k or whatever, over time, it slowly builds up.
Yeah.
And even though the market shifts and we've had some bad stuff, when you get to the end of the road, at least having something more than, I think the average American or the median, it's not the average, the median was something a year ago, it was something in the neighborhood of 54 or 76,000.
For
And I heard the
retirement.
number and I was like, what? That's what, And people are going to, I guess they're counting on Social Security. They're living in a paid off house. It's lots of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
No,
we don't want to go down that road. We were talking
No.
about these frugal habits,
Frugal
we learned
habits.
something new, that you were a bag hoarder,
I was a bag hoarder.
a luxury
And
bag
proud of it.
hoarder.
Luxury bag hoarder and proud of it. I'm still
But
upset they're gone.
even more, the trauma of Glenside.
Well,
is-
listen, I every day something hits me.
See, that's the definition of PTSD. All right, folks, we're going to leave it there. We hope you all had a great Memorial Day weekend. Welcome to calendar summer, or official summer. I guess calendar is a little further into June. I want to remind you to check out our partner here on the Focus Group Deep Discount. You can go to them by getting to our site first, focusgroupradio.com, and clicking on the Deep Discount logo and start your shopping experience. Final reminder is please don't text and drive. Arrive alive. We like everybody getting from A to B in a safe way. And we'll see you in the new week.
It's The Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.